Thursday, March 20th, 2014. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, air travel, because I can't believe we never did a show on this.
Or we did.
And we're bad at this.
Let's do this.
Yeah, we're kind of phoning it in. We got Anime Boston tomorrow, and unlike
We're lucky we're even doing a show at all.
Yeah.
It's a crab, people.
In fact, I showed up late.
We also have no show ideas lately, and you guys aren't exactly helping either.
Yeah, and I showed up late tonight. Like, Scott was here waiting at the studio when I was late, partly because I was trying to book a flight. So, gonna talk about that.
Oh, well.
But, yeah, Anime Boston, it's very rare. You know, in the old days, we always would show up to a con Thursday. That was like the thing. You show up at noon on
Anime
fucking
Boston
Thursday.
Reg has already started.
Yeah.
People have badges right now.
We still do that.
There are cosplayers in Boston eating as we speak.
I remember every year we had a tradition. We'd get up at like 6 a.m. We'd drive to Otakon. Our goal was to be in Baltimore by noon on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Get badges, break into usually sneak around somewhere we weren't supposed to be because no one stops us, and then swim in the pool all night and hang out.
Mm-hmm.
And we really only do that for gaming cons now. Anime cons, we tend to show up like noon on Friday and leave at like noon on Sunday.
The few anime cons we go to.
We go to 2 anime cons a year now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and 1/3, 2 1/3, because Kineticon is 1/3 anime con.
Well, Kineticon is 1/3 everything.
Yeah. So yeah, well, that's it. It's con season.
Yeah, it's getting slightly warmer. Today is the first day of Le Spring.
Warm today.
Haha, you Australians, take that winter.
Yeah.
Aw, getting a little cold, aren't you?
And also,
That's a shame.
because PAX got moved back, when I go back to Australia this year, it's going to be fucking summer. Fuck yeah. I'm taking back my summer days, because last year, I went to PAX Australia. I missed a week and a half of summer here to get a week and a half of winter there. So now I'm taking it back.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got a news that is interesting. So many of you know, a while ago, our book club book was The Player of Games, Ian M. Banks, the Culture Series. If there's a book that is the Geeknights book that isn't The Prince of Nothing, it's Player of Games. That book is legit.
There are a lot of books that are the
Yeah.
Geeknights book, but those are them.
Yeah, Player of
Those are
Games,
both
Prince
of
of
them.
Nothing. Very few things come close. But I read all the other culture books because they're delightful. And I love just about everything about them. But one of them...
It's all you can do, considering you can't actually live in the culture.
I know. Oh, my God. I want to live in the culture. Thing is, the culture's awesome in this sort of awesomely boring way. I'd almost want to be in the special circumstances where suddenly I'm risking death.
Go for it.
Yeah. But I digress. One of these books is called Surface Detail. And not to spoil anything about it, but the conceit is that in these highly advanced future societies, like galaxy-spanning societies, with incredible computing technology and VR technology, it becomes eminently feasible to literally recreate your religion, or literally create a hell that when people die, you take their consciousness and put it in hell forever.
So even though there is no hell,
You make
you
one.
make a real hell, and then when someone's about to die, imagine like Ghost in the Shell, right? You can just turn someone's brain into like, computerize it, digitize their brain.
Yep.
Okay, you're about to die? Okay, I'll take your digitized brain and put it in a digital virtual hell. So yeah, there is hell. I put you in it. And now it is real. It's
So
in this computer. You better
The
hope
book
that-
Surface Detail talks about the ethics of that, the ramifications of that.
Yeah, it's not cool.
Well, heavens exist as well, so there's one funny sort of side
That's
story
kind of
about...
awesome. Do that.
Yeah, maybe. So heavens end up having their own problems.
Okay.
And then the debate comes down to whether or not it's any different from just still being alive.
It isn't.
Yeah. And but there's one society where they create their afterlives, and then billions of suicides as people are like, fuck this, I'm just going to heaven now.
Hell yeah.
So then the people who run heaven are like, yeah, fuck this, you're all going to hell, no suicide.
You can't force me. I can do what I want.
No, they have all the power.
Well, you know what I would do? I would just make my own heaven in my own computer and go into it myself.
Yeah, and then someone turns it off.
I would give it to like a bank or something.
Yeah. It also talks about virtual war and all this stuff. So the reason I give you that sort of backdrop is that there's a story on Slashdot.
A true story
kind of
the real world.
Terrifying. Basically, the idea is there are scientists and doctors legitimately researching and kind of seriously proposing that one way we could deal with prisons is to basically dilate time in people's brains using technology like chemicals or transcranial stimulation or whatever to make them live out the equivalent of 1,000-year sentences that take a matter of weeks or months to sufficiently punish them for their crimes while at the same time pragmatically being able to release them sooner.
That is, I mean, being able to do that is totally awesome, and we should totally research how to
I would
do
say,
that.
all right, put me in prison for 1,000 years if that time dilation is me experiencing 1,000 years of consuming all human media.
No, but I mean, that's a very important thing to research, and I'm sure such scientific research will bear much fruit that is valuable to humanity. But using it in that way is just evil.
It's
with no.
Scott and I, if you have, are very.
Prison's evil to begin with. You're basically just making it more evil.
Yep. So this article,
you're just a vengeful piece of shit.
Is
the purpose of prison? The purpose of criminal justice isn't vengeance.
Well, that is the purpose for most people.
Right. Well, those are the evil people. Fuck them.
Yep. Or
they should be right. We should get vengeance upon them.
They might just be ignorant and fearful,
which is the same thing as being evil.
Well, it has the same effect.
Yeah. So fuck them too.
Yep. But it's interesting that so many people, like this whole article and this whole debate is predicated on the idea that the primary purpose of prison is punishment. You like that alliteration there?
Stanley would be proud.
Which is kind of the worst possible thing. So we'll take someone who is going to be in jail for 90 years because they raped a bunch of babies, put him in jail for 5 minutes, they experience 90 years of jail, and then they're back out on the street.
Great.
And they're going to live as long as they would have lived before anyway. I suspect baby raping will continue.
No, you don't say. He just went 1,000 years without raping a baby. He wants a baby more than ever.
Maybe if you gave him infinite babies in that virtual hell, then maybe he'd baby himself out.
Great. He'd move on to fetuses. Fetus raper.
So everything in this is predicated on that idea when, in my opinion, and not to belabor the point because this is not what the show is about, the primary purpose of a judicial system and a punishment structure should be, one, if possible, to undo damage that was done. Secondarily, to prevent, if possible and reasonable, future harm. Mm-hmm. That's it. So if...
Well, I mean, it's only the second one. You can't change the past, right?
But the judicial system, like, for example, say I rob you. And you get arrested. Maybe they take your assets and give them to me to replace what I lost.
Yeah, all right. That's not undoing. That's simply
rectifying.
It's rectifying.
Yeah, but it's undoing it in a sense that it mitigates some
not
of the damage.
Undo like Photoshop.
Yeah, but I guess goal one should be, as much as possible, repair the damage. Like, if you stab me, the judicial system should make sure that I get unstabbed as much as medical science allows.
Right, but not...
And then number two, it takes away your knife.
Right, but stabbing the stabber doesn't help anyone. That's just freaking
if there was evidence
shit.
that it did, I would be more okay with
There
it.
isn't. It's just Hammurabi barbarianism.
Yep. Now, there are instances...
For you unenlightened...
There are instances where certain combinations of likelihood of being punished and severity of punishment is a deterrent to certain crimes. But not all crimes, probably not most crimes.
You think if these drugs were perfect and had no side effects and worked as exactly as intended, that they would provide any extra deterrent?
No, that's the thing. This is both evil and misguided.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that, for example, if there is a punishment...
If you're not already deterred by prison, you're not going to be deterred by drug prison.
Like, if there's a punishment for littering and that was actually enforced, a lot of people would probably not litter who otherwise would litter. Mm-hmm. But... studies show time and time again that the punishments for murder don't really prevent the kinds of people who murder from murdering because the reasons they murder, most people who decide I'm going to murder someone, they're not really thinking about the likelihood of the death penalty.
You don't say.
They're not like, well, is this worth 20 years in prison? If they got to that point of asking that question, they're probably not going to murder.
That's right. Or
it's going to be one of those situations like in the old days in Texas where the judge will be like, not guilty. He had it coming. So yeah, this is a fascinating article about a lot of people who are effectively evil, even if they don't realize they're evil.
Well, they could be doing valuable research, though, as long as they don't use it for what they want to use it for.
Seriously, the research of put me to sleep I wake up in Boston for PAX, and along the way, I watched every movie humans have ever made. I would pay it for a small fee for that service.
Called The Matrix. I know Kung Fu.
Yeah.
I want that very badly. It's pretty high on the list. Top 5 of things I want very badly.
Yeah, you know what
If not number 1.
That gets real close to the culture.
Oh, look, I know every language that humans have ever spoken, even lost and forgotten languages. How useful is that? All right. So this is a completely unrelated news, sort of a...
I would assume so. How many newses can there be related to real world hells?
Right. It's also sort of a self-centered news, but whatevs. It is somewhat important to anyone who's nerdy and cares about technology. So the camera that I have right now that I've been using for Netrunner videos and taking photos at cons and pretty much everything I do is a Panasonic GF2, which some people call the GF series the girlfriend series. And basically, it's a Micro Four Thirds system. So people who don't know, Micro Four Thirds camera is a camera where you take the lens off, just like a real serious DSLR, right? But there's no mirror in between the lens and the sensor. So the camera is much, much smaller. The other thing is the sensor is much, much smaller. Not much smaller to where it's like as small as your point and shoot or your phone, but smaller than a full-frame DSLR.
Like small enough to where I can carry it around running without much difficulty.
So yeah, it's basically this weird balance between I want a smaller, lighter camera, but the sensor is still big enough to where, wow, the quality is that much better than a phone. It's actually worth having this camera.
Such quality.
Yeah, it's not as quality as the full for real DSLRs, but it's such quality that it's way better than your phone to where it's actually worth carrying this extra thing if you care about photo quality or videoing anything of consequence.
I basically have a moderately newer version of what essentially is the same line. I have the GX1.
The GX7, I guess, is the newest of that line. There's also a G. They still make the GFs, but basically after the GF2, the GF series started basically becoming, the dumb cameras, but they all take the same lenses, whatever. So they announced recently the GH4. The GH series is like wow, it looks like it's a DSLR. It's got the grip on it, and it has a bunch of buttons, and it's like super pro and super fancy looking. Takes the same lenses, but it's like serious business. Still way smaller than a DSLR, though. Way smaller, but serious business. And a lot of people were using GH2s and GH3s for video because they're totally fucking awesome for video. If you're doing 1080p videos, GH2s and GH3s are still super awesome cameras.
In fact, the only reason I don't use mine for video at conventions is that due to the quick setup teardown nature and the variability of access to things like power, I use a camcorder, like a handy cam with a hard drive and giant batteries in it that's not as good from a video standpoint, but much better from an actually using it to record multiple hours in a row standpoint.
So the GH4, if you're just going to make some 1080p videos, you're probably going to be able to get a GH3 mad cheap. People will probably be selling them used on eBay and stuff. So I might even just pick one up if it's cheap enough, or even a GH2, because one extra camera can't hurt, right? But the GH4 is super insane, and you can pre-order it now, and it'll be out like beginning of May, so not in time for these conventions, of course, but in time for every other convention after that. And
in time for really stepping up the game of our own video production.
Sure. So why is this camera such a big deal? Just another upgrade in this series of existing cameras? Because this camera can do 4K videos. Oh my glob. And it's still expensive. It's not a cheap piece of equipment, but it's $1,800. Now, in terms of other cameras that can do 4K video, you've got the GoPro 3, which is only a few $100s, but that doesn't do it, right? That's not the same kind of video we're talking here. Other cameras that do 4K are like for real cameras that cost tens of thousands of dollars. So suddenly you're getting the equivalent of something that is definitely capable of doing for reals pro video 4K for less than $2,000.
Of course, now you start to run into the issue, not the issue, but the reality that a lot of the infrastructure around doing 4K has nothing to do with the camera.
Right. I mean, the Red camera was a big deal in that, it basically was the equivalent of a multi-$100,000 camera for only tens of thousands. And now they've got the GH4, which is the equivalent of a tens of thousands of dollar camera for under 2,000s. Is going to be crazy. And all my existing lenses work on it, so I don't have to like invest more money to get this thing or anything. So it's got if you look at like the features of this thing online, it's pretty ridiculous.
Oh, in-body stabilization.
It doesn't have in-body. That's the only thing it doesn't have.
This review says it does.
That review is wrong.
Despite Panasonic, the GX7 incorporates in-body stabilization.
That's the GX7. The GX7 does. The GH4 does not.
Nah.
It seems to be a big deal for a lot of people, the in-body stabilization.
Well, because if you want a lens, if you want the camera to do it, you have lenses that don't do it, but then
right.
Camera has to
The
do
only
it.
way to do it would be to, I guess, in post, right? And you only really need the stabilization if you're like running around with the camera while videoing or something like that.
Well, I need it a lot because a lot of the pictures I take even are in pretty low light conditions and zoomed in. And with those combined, the stabilization really helps me out.
That does help you out. But yeah, most of the Panasonic lenses have it built into the lens. The thing is, the one built into the lens is good, but not as good as the in-camera ones that like Olympus has. They're really good.
Yep.
But if you're serious, you're just gonna get like a steady cam or some shit if you really need it, right? But anyway, the thing is, you might be saying, well, even so, why is a 4K camera, even no matter how cheap, a big deal? No one has a 4K TV right now. It's like, okay, it's future-proof, which is nice, but why not just buy a 4K camera later when everyone has 4K TVs? And there's some truth to that. But recording 4K video is a bigger deal for other reasons. For example, I can record a 4K video of us up on a stage doing a panel, and when I zoom in to just my face, that'll be 1080p's. Right? Now we record 1080p's. If we zoom into one person's face, that's less than 1080p's.
Yep. Also, every time...
So it's like you have multiple cameras for the price of one camera.
We need more cameras to have more camera angles at these conventions, so might as well, every time we buy a camera, buy the most future-proof one out there.
That's also true.
So that eventually, our cheapest camera is only the backup.
Another thing you can do is, instead of like taking photos, you can just take 4K video, right, of everything. And then when you get home, look through the 4K video, find the single frame that is the photo you wanted, and that's an 8-megapixel photo, which is, you couldn't print like a super fancy magazine with that probably, but that's still 8 megapixels is definitely enough to print.
Storage and power considerations notwithstanding.
Right, yeah, but it's like, that's definitely a process that a lot of people are switching to is don't take photos, just take video of everything and then pick out the frames, because the video is good enough for whatever you're doing. You don't need, it has a 16-megapixel sensor. Well, what if I don't need a 16-megapixel photo? I just need 8. So
also, you've got this. You can have a.
What are the odds that I'm going to push this button at the exact right moment of this sporting event versus the button is always pressed, and I'll just find the awesome frame later.
So software stabilization can be way better because if I'm producing 1080p video and I've got a 4K source that's wide,
yep,
I can stabilize the ever-living fuck out of that in After Effects.
That is absolutely another thing that I was about to mention. So, if you're someone out there who does photos or videos, right, like this camera is, there are other cameras that beat it in pretty much a lot of different categories, right? Low light photography, yeah, a Nikon D4S is going to just crush you because it goes up to like ISO 256,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
And the smaller sensor, like once you go above ISO maybe 6,400, it's not good anymore. Even 6,400 might not be good.
I still got to go through all those pictures we tried to take of the stars that one night.
Oh, yeah. But it's like, in each area, this camera is deficient in some way compared to others. But overall, like, this thing is game-changing, not just for people like me who are already, like, invested in the Micro Four Thirds camera system, but just cameras, videos, and photos in general. This thing is pretty significant. So, also, even if you don't care about this individual camera, it's basically pushing the whole market now. Almost every other camera maker now has to come out with some sort of 4K thing. So 4K recording is going to be available in general to the average prosumer population within a year or two, right? And YouTube already supports 4K. And I do know at least 1 or 2 people that have 4K TVs. So Watch out. It's
Watch
happening. It's happening.
But anyway, things of the day. Got a thing of the day?
Well, baseball, the spring training's going on. A lot of people are paying attention to that.
Baseball.
And the college basketball tournament, I think, starts like now or tomorrow. It's starting basically now-ish. So that's pretty much taken up all the U.S. sports, right? And even NBA is getting tons and tons of coverage. People forget the most important sport of all ever, ice hockey, is still happening right now. It is still the ice hockey season, just no one's paying attention to it.
Yeah, partly because Red Wings not doing so well.
That's the only reason I'm paying attention.
Not doing so well.
Anyway, so to remind people that the most important sport ever, ice hockey, is still happening as we speak, here is a hockey video. It's not actually an NHL video. It's from the LNAH, which is, I think, some Canadian league, whatever, minor league hockey. But it is a hockey fight. And from the start, it looks like a pretty good hockey fight as far as hockey fights go. But watch till the end. Trust me. Watch till the end.
Not even going to spoil it. It's pretty great.
Watch to the end of this video. This shows you why hockey is the best sport. Ignore that basketball bullshit that's happening. It's worthless.
So, we've talked about this before, but John Green's Crash Course is amazing. The Green Brothers.
Your favorite thing.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. Have you watched any of it, Scott?
Nah, still no.
You really should.
I got better shit to do.
They're short. They're like 12 minutes long.
I don't got time for that.
And they teach you stuff. They're better than any documentary. They're brilliantly done.
Ain't no one got time for that.
These are the template for how to do informative, engaging, interesting content on YouTube. Also, I would kill to have their studio.
Would it be better if they recorded in 4K?
Yeah, maybe. They do the whiteout background, which we cannot do for lack of space.
Yeah.
So they have started up a couple of new series because they've done like American history, world history, all these things. So I want to particularly highlight John Green has restarted the literature one, which very famously did The Great Gatsby. A lot of Geeknights listeners enjoyed that multi-part commentary on that book and how great it is. But he started with The Odyssey and Hamlet.
I have Pop-Up Odyssey. I know everything there is to know about the Odyssey from my pop-up book.
Yeah, the moral, Odysseus was kind of a dick.
No, you don't say.
This video is just delightful.
You could have called him Odysseus if you wanted to.
The only person more of a dick than him is Poseidon.
The king of all dicks.
And you know what, Poseidon?
Is the awesomest.
Poseidon, I do not mean that as anything other than a compliment.
Well, no, because think about it, right?
Please don't drown me.
It's like they're both dicks, right? But it's like, it's like there's different kinds of dicks, right? Odysseus is like, wow, what a dick. Fuck that guy. And Poseidon is like, wow, what a glorious dick. Holy shit, that is amazing.
Oh, you're disrespecting me? You wanted to go home? Oh, you're in a ship.
Why are you disrespecting me when you're in my house? How stupid could you be? I mean, I've seen a lot of stupid people out here in my house before.
I mean, even the other gods
but you are
like,
by far, the dumbest.
I mean, even Athena is like, yeah, don't piss him off, guys. I don't want to piss him off. Even Zeus is probably like, yeah, just let him be.
The ocean, there aren't a lot of people out here in total. I can pay a lot of attention to you. And I don't really have much else going on right now. I mean, some fishes over here and some waves over there.
Charybdis just hanging out.
I'm kind of bored. So I got no problems fucking you up. I mean, them other gods, they might, be real busy.
This gave me an idea for this is the kind of thing that I don't want to make because it'd be too much effort. But I want to see a skit at like a convention, right? Where there's a guy dressed up as Poseidon. And he just, on Thursday morning, he picks one dude and ruins his entire con over the course of 4 days. It just follows him everywhere, knocking food off the table, stealing his cosplay, interrupting his panels.
Go to the bathroom, fill a bucket with water, splash it on him.
Yeah. In the Meta Moment, the book club book is Wool by Hugh Howry. I've read the first few chapters.
I read the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm burning through it pretty quickly. All I want to say, the first set of chapters, like the very first story that kind of ends effectively, it reminded me a lot of like a Ray Bradbury short story. Like that stood on its own as a great short story.
Sure.
with the correct twist
But
ending.
am I not correct? Did you get the Logan's Run feel?
Got the Logan's Run.
Did
got
you
the
get
paranoia.
the paranoid feel? The Fallout feel?
Yep.
All right.
But
That's
there's
what it is.
also there's some other feel that I'm not quite sure about yet going on.
There's some other feels in
I haven't
there.
read too far in yet.
I know everything.
Yep. Problem is the author has a lot of sentences that have the same word too many times.
Okay.
Like
Let's just do the whole book club episode now. I've finished it.
she stood before the door before she was like, no, don't say before twice. That's kind of person I am when I read books.
Okay.
It's pretty good. It's a book club book.
Save it for the book club episode.
Yeah, well, I got to finish reading it. We are going to be at Animu Boston.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, we're taking a bus. We're going to
As
be
you
there
listen.
like noon.
So you can come see us there. We got some panels. What panels are they?
Friday, 2 p.m., panel 309, Fundamental Anime.
It's anime you should see. We retitled it Don't Come If You've Seen Anime You Should See Before.
Tell your friends who watch shit anime to go see it.
Yeah.
Because that's, Saturday at noon, The Secret Guide to Running Panels. Now,
We've done that 100 times. You can even just watch it on YouTube.
yeah, when we recorded it from our living room.
But maybe if you need that extra kick in the ass to do some panels at a
Well,
con.
also, guys, when we do panels like that, how to run an anime club, like a how-to panel, we don't fuck around. Like, we'll take some questions, and we're going to give you real answers. You might not like the answers.
more real than, like, people say they're going to give you the real deal, and they don't. Ours is too real.
Like, here's an
So
example.
real people can't handle it.
We've never put up a video of when we do those, like, how to run an anime club panels, but we give advice like, have a democracy, but on the inside, you need to be super corrupt. And here's how to be corrupt.
Make an autocracy that looks like a democracy.
Yup.
Rig the election if necessary. Like,
You
take
are-
everyone's votes and then just announce the winner is the person you wanted all
You
along.
are grooming people in advance, like strategies on how to get rid of that guy, like how to make that guy stop showing up to your anime club.
Yep. Anyway.
Yeah. Saturday at 2:30, panel 309. Not all anime are what they seem.
A panel we came up with to fill the schedule.
And it ended up being a pretty good panel. There's a section in the middle, a little bit trolly. You guys might enjoy it. And then Saturday, 7:30 p.m. in the Constitution Room.
That's in the hotel.
Anime by its cover.
The good panel. People loved it last year, so let's just keep it going and do it every year.
I think we'll do it every year because it self-populates. And by definition, we cannot prepare for it. Preparing for it ruins it.
That's right.
All the prep I do is I take all the shows on the chart, put them in a slideshow, and I do a Google image search on like 5 random ones just to see, and that's it.
Yep.
It's super fun for us to do too, so I'm digging this.
People liked it last time, so why not?
Yeah, so come say hi, come to our panels. Mike Toole, all the other cool kids are going to be there doing panels.
Go to Anime Hell, go to Dubs of Time Forgot, go to all the... There's a panel that we can't go to. Oh, I got to bring this up in my guidebook.
Uh-oh, there's a panel we can't
There's
watch.
a panel that's conflicting with our panel.
Well, I'll go to it. You do the panel.
That is... Hold on.
You had to run that Netrunner panel by yourself at Kineticon because I had to go deal with a
Maybe.
bunch of stuff.
Japan Ice Hockey and the Asia League.
What?
This panel, a look inside the world of ice hockey as it pertains to Japan.
Who the shit is running that? Because we're getting them on Geeknights.
We can't go to it. It's
No, we're gonna-
at 3. It's at 2:30. It's right on top of Fundamental Anime. So we
Let's-
can actually, if we run out of Fundamental Anime, no, it's only a half hour long. Their panel. No, their panel is a 15-minute panel.
What?
Guidebook is fucked up.
Okay, whatever.
Their panel and Fundamental Anime both end at 3, but theirs starts at 2:30 and ours starts at 2. So we can't see it at all. We can ask Lou who's running it and find that person.
Yes, that is. You might say that's in our wheelhouse.
Maybe. Yeah. Go to that panel.
Yeah, we're also going to be at PAX East. We're also going to be at ZenkaiCon. We're also going to be at Kineticon. We're also going to be at PAX Prime, PAX Dev. I'm going to be at PAX Australia. Shit's happening in the future. Forum, YouTube, watch our stuff, whatever. So,
Our IRC channel, we have one.
yep.
People are in it.
So I hope we didn't do a show on this, but
We
fly-
almost definitely did a show on this.
Yeah,
Here's
the thing. I kept searching, and all I kept finding was flying ghost ship.
Right, I found that also.
Yeah.
So
Which is an
this is
anime
one
you
of
should
those
see.
things where it's like we've discussed it. This is the hard part, right? Is like you've discussed a topic on tons of shows, and if you went back through all our shows and cut out all the pieces where we've talked about this, we've probably discussed we're probably just going to be repeating ourselves, but it's never actually been the main bit of an episode
So it'll
in
be
one place.
consolidated. You can link to it. You can discuss it
And
directly.
it helps us get away with the show.
Partly because I fly a lot these days, both for work and for Geek Nights.
I mean, I've always flown a moderate amount, more than most people, but never the crazy amount that a business traveler does.
So as a kid, I didn't fly often, actually. I never flew anywhere.
It's weird. I didn't fly for the longest time. And then once I started flying, I flew like crazy.
I think that's a consequence of living in the Northeast or the Midwest.
Well, I mean, the only place we ever went as in my childhood that was worthy of flying was Florida.
Yep.
And my parents would first we drove there, then we drove there again, then we took the auto train there, and then we started flying there.
Yep.
Right? It took 3 times of doing it the inexpensive way before giving up and doing
my
it
family,
the
same deal.
vastly superior way.
We were always a road trip family. We would prep the fuck out of road trips.
Right.
We would, the days before, we'd be filling the car with stuff, making, getting the cooler, situated.
Pete and Pete.
Yep.
Road trips, that's an episode.
Oh my God, we'll do a
That's
show
an
on
episode
that.
we definitely haven't done. And then once I went to college, I was using JetBlue to fly home to JFK. It's like a 45-minute flight.
Yeah, I was driving because there aren't cheap flights to Detroit from Rochester,
That's a shame.
which was fine because we're not talking about road trips. So, didn't fly a lot as a kid, and the first time I flew, other than in a Cessna or something, was when I flew to Florida with the marching band for a marching competition in the Orange Bowl or Citrus Bowl or whatever.
Usually schools will use buses for that and won't use planes.
Yeah, we're not taking buses to Florida. Fuck that noise.
People do it.
Yeah, we didn't. We flew there, and then we took buses around. I was gone for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It was over New Year's and everything. It was actually kind of awesome.
Anyway.
So, I started flying a lot, mostly for conventions.
Yeah.
But
you can't get to PAX without a plane, at least not easily.
I never had to fly to conventions regularly until I got sick. Although there's one time we flew to Boston
Yep.
because we just didn't want to deal with other transit. And it's basically not faster than taking the train if you take into account security and cabs.
It's also really cheap to make a short flight like that.
But now I fly all the time for work, and we also fly to most of the bigger conventions we go to, except for the ones that are right here on the East Coast. But notice that most of the conventions we go to are an easy drive. It's more convenient to drive than to fly. The only times we don't drive is because driving ends up being more expensive.
Yep. Because we don't have a car.
Yeah. And also gas is expensive, and parking costs every dollar.
Yeah, Boston, the amount you pay for parking in Boston if you're there for an extended period will just be the cost of the plane ticket you should have just flew.
Exactly. DC was easier because we'd park way outside and take the metro.
Yeah, we parked in this way far the fuck
Greenbelt.
away. Yeah, not in the city.
So I have an observation. I think that most people in America have never flown before and are somehow always at the airport in line in front
Well,
of
I mean, you got to consider, right? The people who know how to fly and fly often, right? Go to the airport and breeze through. So most of the people who are still in the airport going slow are, people who don't fly often. In any given flight, you got to imagine, right? So take a random JetBlue flight, I don't know, New York to, West Palm, right?
Yep.
What percentage of that flight are people who fly all the goddamn time and know what the fuck they're doing?
But when I was a kid, because I remember the time when the TSA didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
I would just fucking walk on the plane, go through a metal detector, put my bag in the X-ray, that was it. I could put whatever I wanted in my carry-on, and it was always super easy, and no one was ever in my way.
The TSA has definitely made things worse, right? But
boarding planes was just go, go, go. No big deal.
listen, when the TWA terminal opened in JFK, my parents just went, and you could just walk in off the street with no plane ticket or anything and watch planes take off out the window.
But I guess it's
You can't go to the gate now.
what amazes me is that every time I fly and I have to check in at the desk, because you can't always do some sort of auto check-in, there's always every single person in front of me stands there at that check-in thing for 5+ minutes.
Yep.
And there's always some problem, and I can never figure out what these problems are.
The problem is they're incompetent.
But they're always getting angry. The person there is just typing forever. And typing forever. And then they call the manager over there and he stands there watching while they keep typing. What the fuck are they doing? How do you fuck this up? Because every time, without fail, when I get up, I hand them my passport, they hand me my boarding pass, and I immediately walk away.
Yep. It's because people, when you don't do something often, right? You got to imagine this person flies once every few years, if that, right? You don't know what the fuck to do.
The first time I flew, I figured it out. It was
I
not hard.
yeah.
Pack everything in a bag. Pack the stuff in a smaller bag you want with you on the plane. Bring some books.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Like, what? How do you fuck this up? You already bought your plane ticket. I'm convinced that most of the people in front of me in line aren't actually trying to fly anywhere. They just wandered into the airport by accident.
I don't know. Maybe they bought a plane ticket that was wrong. They came at the wrong day or the wrong time, or they came too late, or they brought too much stuff and they didn't realize they couldn't bring that much
Well, that's
stuff.
the other thing. Everyone in line seems to have a cart covered in like 100 suitcases.
Well, I mean, I can understand the families, right? So you get 5 people, they got like 5 suitcases and they, pushing them around. It's like, okay. But then you see these people, it's like, they got suitcases that are like enough to carry every clothing I own. And it's like, where are you going and for how long?
Yeah, if I'm going somewhere that long, I
Laundry.
actually pack less because I do laundry.
Laundry.
In fact, the only time I pack a lot of clothes is if it's a weird trip where I'm going somewhere just long enough to need a lot of clothes, but not long enough to do laundry.
Right. It just people just don't know how to do anything.
I've also noticed something that really annoys me lately where they call for boarding, right? And they always call like rows 50 through 80 can board now.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've noticed is that without fail, when they announce the first boarding group, pretty much everyone just stands up and tries to get on the plane.
Yep.
And the airlines don't actually stop anyone who wasn't supposed to board then.
Mm-hmm.
So the boarding just is a clusterfuck. There's the one fat slow lady blocking row 2 while everyone else is trying to get to the back.
Yep.
So I was on a flight not that long ago, right? I was in London, and they did that. They called like the last X rows. So I get in line behind a million people, and the lady at the front turned away almost every single person. She actually turned away people who weren't supposed to
Nice.
board yet. They got so mad. Woman started like screaming at this attendant, like, "What do you mean I can't get on the plane? My ticket says," and she was like, "Do I have to call security?"
Yeah.
I
I would have pulled a conductor. Go for it.
I wish every airline did that. The sheer joy I experienced watching these extremely
Makes me want to fly that airline.
angry, but it's almost always middle-aged ladies who are in line trying to board when they're not supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
It's never like the business traveler by himself. It's never
Airlines
the family.
are one of those things where I think somebody could, make a lot of money, or I hope they could make a lot of money. They would definitely get my money if they would just make Jerk Airline, which is basically, this airline is for people who know what the fuck they're doing only. And basically the rule would be, if
No
you
soup for you?
yeah, it'd be the no soup for you airline. It's like, oh, you fucked up? Guess what? You're just gonna suffer. Right? Oh, you tried to get on the plane when you weren't supposed to? Next flight. You can't even get on this flight. Tough shit. Oh, no refund either. Oh, you need to reschedule? Well, you're not getting your refund for that ticket. Got to buy another one. Tough shit. You should have, planned your fucking schedule in advance.
There is a jerk airlines. It's called Spirit Air.
But that's just a jerk to everyone, even the people who know what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's the discount, like Dr. Nick airline. You don't want to.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah. No, this should be like if you are good and actually do what you're supposed to do and obey all the rules and are fast and get on the plane right away, it should actually reward you, right? You need the stick and the carrot.
You know what
right?
I'd do? I'd make it like a Japanese game show. If you get from walking onto the plane into your seat with your luggage put in the overhead bin and your seatbelt buckled within 45 seconds, your flight's free.
the whole flight would be free because only us people would be on there.
I have a feeling it would. No, the thing is, you subsidize this by letting a third of the people on the plane
yeah.
who think they can do this but can't. Like when I.
Oh, if you can't lift up your carry-on over your head, we take it away from you and we put it on the next flight. So you'll actually, not only will you not have it with you on the plane, you won't have it with you until like the day after you get
I would
where
make an
you're
exception
going.
unless you pre-certify with us that you are handicapped or elderly and you physically can't do it, so that we can have someone help you.
Right, but that's, that's obvious.
Yeah, it should be.
And you'll still get on the plane as fast as you can, given your condition.
Yep.
I've seen. Listen, and the other thing is, right, it's not people, right, that with handicaps and whatever that are the problem, right? Those people is pre-boarding, and they get on pretty damn fast. Even the old people, they go their pre-boarding. By the time I get on a plane, the old people are already seated with the shit above their heads. It's these other people, right, who just have carry-ons that are too big. I don't know why they let them bring it on.
I saw a couple airlines.
Or too heavy, they can't pick it up.
3 weeks ago, a couple airlines suddenly instituted a zero-tolerance policy on oversized bags.
Yeah.
And it caused disaster and complaints, and the airline's
Good.
basically like, yeah, well, fuck you.
Yeah, whatever airline that is, I like it.
Yeah. I saw news stories about it while I was in the airport.
A plus.
But, like, these people bring these giant bags carry-on. Why? It's not like you can even get into that thing. It's so big. What are you going to do with it?
There's a human body in there.
Yeah, probably.
That's the only explanation.
I blame the TSA for most of this, though.
And the TSA basically slows down even the fast people, right? Which is the problem. If the TSA was gone, everyone would be sped up, across the board. But even without the TSA, there's still a lot of slow garbage, mostly from people.
It's mostly just people. It's like they move so slow in their lives. Like if you all moved a little faster. I did an experiment a couple months ago, and what I did is on my way to and from work for several days, I started a stopwatch on my phone, and I tried 2 ways. One, I tried walking at the pace that whoever's in front of me is walking. Not like trying to fight my way past people. And then I recorded it on weekends, like on similar routes, when there was no one in my way. If I didn't have to deal with slow people just being slow in front of me, I would save multiple hours per month.
Yeah. I mean, people are like, why are you in such a hurry? Stop and smell the roses, whatever. But it's like,
I don't want to smell the hobos in the subway. Get the fuck out of my way.
It's like, it's like people don't realize that by going slow, just how much time you're losing to do other things.
Now, stop to smell the roses. I'm in the subway. I'm on my way to the roses in the botanical
Are you the same
garden.
person who's complaining like, oh, I don't have time to do these extra activities, and oh, there's just, I can't add this extra thing to my schedule. It's like, yeah, because you're fucking slow as balls, right? It's like, why do you think I can do all the shit that I do? Podcasting,
It's just
net
'cause
running,
we walk fast.
sleeping properly,
That's it. We walk
cooking
fast.
dinner, right? A lot of that actually, not all of it, most of it's just good time management and scheduling, but a lot of it comes from just like walking fast and doing things that I don't need to stop and smell as quickly as I possibly can. And
Yep,
actually trying to hurry. Not like
What's the phrase?
Not running out of breath fast.
Well, what's the phrase? Let us hurry so that we do not have to rush.
That's right. Exactly.
I got places to be.
Get somewhere on time, and then take my time at the doing the thing I actually care about doing, and then hurry up and get to the fucking next thing. Don't waste my time on a plane. I don't want to be on the plane. I want to be on the beach. Let's get the plane into the air as quickly as possible, because then I'll be on the beach 20 minutes sooner, 20 minutes more beach.
Now, I also run into kind of a technological disconnect problem that Scott has the same problem, I assume. So we have fancy insertion earbuds that block outside sound and are really high quality. If I plug that shit into the entertainment system on a plane, 1, the lowest volume setting is loud enough to injure me.
That's true.
And 2, the announcements from the pilot are loud enough to deafen me.
It depends on the plane. Some planes I can't even plug it in without a weird adapter to the pitchfork.
Or even
whatever.
if you do, like the audio quality is so shitty, like there's this whine in the background, like
when I used to fly JetBlue back in the college days, it was like TV, fuck yeah, and I'd be watching like ESPN on the plane, whatever, right?
Yup.
But then, like ever since the iPod era, like when I actually had an iPod and had podcasts to listen to, and especially when I had laptops and things to watch video on.
Yep, or just play Civ 5.
Or DSs and such like that. It's just like I go on JetBlue and I just turn the TV off. I don't really use. The only thing I use on the in-flight entertainment system is watching where the plane is.
Yep. Occasionally, if I'm on a long flight, I'll watch a movie or two.
Even going to Australia, the longest flight ever, I did not watch even one movie or television show on the entertainment
I watch
system.
the movies during meal times usually because I can't have my laptop out at that time easily.
I don't know what I did during the mealtime. I think I just concentrated on the meal.
Nah.
I don't know.
You really wanted to enjoy that meal.
I guess. It was much better.
It was, you know what?
It wasn't like people, airline food is sort of a joke, like cafeteria food is a joke.
But really, it's just United States airline food.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Well, first of all, JetBlue is great. They don't give you food. They just give you fucking snacks, right?
Yep.
It's like, we're not going to insult you with shitty food. We'll just give you no food. And
Yeah,
you'll save money.
I can
And it's
eat
like,
at like the cheeseburger at the terminal before I fly.
sure. But, on the flight to Australia, which, the food was not bad. It was perfectly edible.
So Scott, I fly all around the world, and in all my experience, the worst food on our airlines outside of the United States is better than the best food on most U.S. domestic flights.
I'm sure if you're on the first Amazo class.
No, I'm the fucking coach.
I'm saying if you're in the first class in the U.S., the food might be
Yeah,
edible.
so about that, business class food in the U.S. is categorically worse than economy class food on like Turkish Air or Etihad.
Well, Etihad's a fancy airline.
Yeah, Turkish Air is the best airline I've ever flown. Turkish Air.
Have you flown Emirates?
I haven't flown Emirates yet.
How about Lufthansa?
I've flown them.
Okay.
I've flown a lot of airlines, and
How about you haven't flown in the Concorde because they don't fly it anymore?
that's not an airline. That's an airplane.
It was an airline.
It's an airplane.
Who owned? Who owned the Concorde?
Air
then?
France. It was a joke.
I thought it was just like its own airline
Really?
that owned them all.
No.
They didn't. There was white. They didn't have a logo printed on the side of them.
That's also not true.
I've never seen one that wasn't 100% white.
Here's a picture of one on Wikipedia. That British Airways logo.
Well, there you go.
It's a plane, not an airline.
I've still never seen it because your head's in the way.
It was made by Air France. It was like a joint thing with them and British Airways. I'm not going to get into it.
I'm sure the food on it was amazing. Is the point?
Why would it be? It's such a short
You're
flight.
paying $1,000 fucking dollars.
You're paying for the short flight.
Right. I want to be able to eat during that 1 hour.
I would not mind if the Concorde came back.
It's not. I mean, it's significantly shorter, but not. It's still not like 2 seconds, right?
It's shorter enough to matter.
If I wish it still existed, I would pay for it.
I would pay for it.
I would have gladly paid to take it to Australia for like $6,000.
Dude, I was just in London. I don't think I could make it to Australia.
You don't think so?
No.
Oh.
I would have taken it to London because that would have been great.
Oh, okay.
That would have been the best. Here we go, Scott. JFK to London Heathrow, under 3 hours from takeoff to touchdown.
How much money?
I have no idea, but whatever.
I'd pay $1,000 for that.
I would pay $1,000 for that.
Easily.
3
2,000
hours,
even.
Scott. That's shorter than our ride to Boston.
That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
How awesome is that?
It's
Plus,
super awesome.
3 hours. I'd like some food. Give me a snack.
Yeah, like JetBlue. Get some peanuts.
Peanuts, they don't good on. A lot of airlines don't do peanuts because people with allergies might get killed.
Yeah, I'm really sad about that. I really like peanuts.
I like peanuts too.
I get peanuts in a lot of non-United States.
What are they going to do if
flights.
I just buy peanuts in the terminal and bring them on the plane?
Nothing.
So, the TSA's not going to take my peanuts.
They might. I wouldn't be surprised.
And I happen to sit next to a stranger who's allergic to peanuts, and then they start dying. And I got to jab them with an EpiPen and apologize.
Yeah, most peanut allergies are not like that. Maybe while they're asleep, you just like grind them up and jam them in their mouth. But that's murder. Or at least
Only if
attempted
I
murder.
know. What if I didn't know? And I was like, hey, want a peanut? Oh my God, I didn't know.
I think that's the paper skull whatever doctrine that if I punch you and you're just super weak and it crushes your skull, I'm still guilty of manslaughter.
Right, but if I offer you a peanut, like, hey, you want a peanut?
There's a difference between offering it to you and grinding it up and shoving it into your mouth while you're asleep.
Sure, yeah. I don't think it's good to grind up anything and put in someone's mouth
Yeah.
while they're asleep.
But I can't express to you how awful most airlines inside of the United States are the more I fly overseas.
Yeah.
Also, how awful the TSA is the more I fly overseas. Everything about the experience of flying within the United States is awful compared
It's
to
pretty
most
much just
of the rest
the
of the
U.S.
world.
is bad. Flying is amazing. The miracle of flight. It's like other people, they get on planes, and it's like, I see people who prefer the aisle seat. I guess they want to get up and go to the bathroom without having to make
One,
anyone else get
if
up.
your flight's under 10 hours, why the fuck are you getting up?
Right.
Just sit there.
2, it's like, people don't want the middle seat. Obviously, you never want a middle seat.
It's the worst.
But people have the window seat. It's like they don't look out the window. It's like I've flown a bunch of times. Every single time, I still look out the window and go, holy fuck, miracle of flight. Oh my God.
Yep, I'll look out 3 times. The entire takeoff, because that's awesome. the entire landing because, hey, New York
I look
City.
out the window. If I'm in the window seat, which I usually am, I'm looking out the window like 80% of the time.
Yeah. Well, sometimes
Like, oh
when you're
my God. Well,
when it's sunny and you're above the clouds, you can't look out the
right.
window.
Or it's pitch black and you can't even see anything because you're above farms and mountains.
Yep. Though
But it's like,
when I was flying to Tokyo, I remember at one point we were flying over northern areas, and you could see like the hints of aurora off on the horizon.
could you see like Mount Fuji?
No.
No.
Not that I was over the Arctic at that point.
Oh. Okay. Oh, you were flying over the top?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's how you get direct
Okay.
from JFK to Tokyo.
Over the top, not around.
Yeah, over the top.
Okay. But yeah, no, it's like people they just they fly without it's like without appreciating you are fucking flying. Holy shit. And it's like, dude, seriously? If you don't look out the window and say holy shit, you shouldn't be allowed to fly. It's
Yep.
like, if you're not going to appreciate flying, you don't get to fly.
Yeah, the actual act of flying. If the TSA went away, I would fly almost everywhere I go.
I would fly to work if I could.
Yeah.
People like 100 years ago basically couldn't fly. Even today, only very few people, relatively speaking, are privileged to fly. Caesar could not fly. Queens and kings of ancient times could not fly. Even Abraham Lincoln could not fly.
I like how that's your even Abraham Lincoln.
That's right. Someone that recent could not fly. I don't think Teddy Roosevelt flew, did he?
I don't know.
I don't, people who were really important and really recent did not have the privilege to experience the miracle of flying that I am privileged to have. Better fucking appreciate that
Okay,
shit.
so I just typed "did Teddy Roosevelt," and the suggestions are: invent the teddy bear, marry his cousin, see Bigfoot, have polio, get shot.
Wrong Roosevelt on the polio.
But at least someone thought to look it up.
Yeah, I guess that person was educated, so good for them. Much,
They
much better than the
learn.
person who keeps getting it wrong.
Oh, when did Theodore Roosevelt fly in an airplane? On October 11th, 1910.
Everyone,
Theodore Roosevelt, Scott, was the first president to fly in a plane.
hallelujah. Deservedly so.
He was the first
And
U.S.
you know
president
what?
to ever
I
fly.
bet he fucking appreciated it. He was probably like, holy shit, this is fucking amazing.
He's like, bully, bully, bully the entire way. Just bully.
I mean, in his
bully.
day, you wanted to get to California to use a fucking boat through a canal that he dug with,
Yeah.
with his own hands.
Or road trip.
They didn't really have cars.
They had road trips.
Sure.
It's got
You could
Oregon
use
Trail. Or there were road trips.
You could use a train.
There were road trips
were-
back in the day.
There were trains. Trains were the way to go. Anyway,
Yep. So I've never flown first class,
I have also not flown in the first class.
but I've seen inside a first class.
I've
of some
seen
of these
inside all the
airlines.
first
It's like,
classes.
yeah, you've basically got a tiny walled apartment with a lay-down bed.
Well, I mean, the thing is, even the first classes that are that fancy, the ones on Emirates are even fancier. So it's like the first class on one airplane is like coach on some other airplane.
I've flown business class several times. It's plenty.
It is.
It is so great. I thought, like, oh, maybe I should upgrade to business class on this flight to Australia. And I expected it to be more expensive. It was so much more expensive that even I was like,
ludicrous price.
No.
Yeah, if it was a little bit more money, I would have done it too. But it's not.
Yeah.
It's
I would have paid an extra $1,000.
it's prohibitively expensive.
Yeah. But there is a secret if you fly overseas that I've found is that a lot of overseas airlines have something that they call premium economy or something like that.
If the plane is big enough.
It's better than what business class is inside of the U.S. in most airlines. Like in Turkish Air, premium
A
economy.
little more legroom.
A lot more legroom.
Better seat.
A huge seat that reclines all the fuck way back and multi-course dining. Like they bring you, here's menu. Here's appetizer number 1. Which of our 4 dessert selections would you like? Here's a bottle of wine.
Here's your crack pipe, pre-warmed.
I do also enjoy how outside of the U.S., pretty much every airline just gives you as much alcohol as you want. Like they don't charge you, it's just free.
Yep.
Inside of the U.S., they're like, would you like an awful rum and coke for $9?
For me,
We'll swipe your
for
credit
me
card
this is
right
not
here.
an issue.
Yeah. But also juices. Free
Sure.
juice, as much juice as I want. Just give me all the orange juice.
Give me all the orange juice until I can't drink it anymore.
Yeah.
Until I'm so sugared up I can't.
Orange juice is so important on flights.
Until I turn orange.
Yeah. So yeah, I've noticed also that we're really, really fucking spoiled by living in New York.
Yeah, we can just go to the airport immediately.
And
We don't have to drive to it, park at it.
Yeah, or even I know a lot of people who
That
will,
makes a big difference. Like in terms of flying, right? It's like if you're taking a trip somewhere and you have to factor in like getting to the airport as part of the time, I see why a lot of suburb people like flying won't actually save them anything. Like let's say you live outside of the city of Boston, you know, fly to New York. It's a 3-hour drive. You drive 45 minutes to get to the airport and park, and you got to pay for that. Then you spend like a half hour to 45 minutes getting through the airport, and then you fly. It's like if you would have just drove to New York, you would have made it in the same time.
Yup.
I live in New York. I get on the subway. It takes me to the airport. I get on the plane. Boom, I'm there.
Well, even look, like when we lived in Beacon, all right, hour train into the city, hour and change, like hour and a half, hour from there to the airport,
Yep.
then fly.
Yep.
It was or maybe go to the local airport, fly to the real airport, and then fly.
Yeah, there are a lot of like, you got to look at these airports that aren't the major airports, which a lot of people don't look at. There's a lot of secret flights there that people don't know that can save you a fuck ton of time. For example, one I know of that my mom uses is White Plains has an airport.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know that White Plains has an airport, but it does.
Dude, I used Stewart Airport by Beacon multiple times.
That's bigger than White Plains Airport.
Yeah, but Stewart Airport, well, I think it was a landing place for the shuttle.
Well, White Plains Airport is really tiny, but you know what? You can fly direct from White Plains to West Palm Beach on JetBlue.
Nope.
Just like, so if you live in like Connecticut, don't drive into freaking, or up, slightly upstate New York. You can get there really quick. Like 30-minute drive is a huge radius of, people living.
Yep. But even among the big airports, like you think Boston you mentioned, or DC or New York is such a cut above. If I want to fly almost like when I fly
Not LaGuardia.
So when I
Not
fly
Newark.
When I fly to Turkey, when I fly to Brazil, when I fly to India, when I fly to London, all these places, there's multiple direct flights from JFK every day.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, if you live somewhere else besides like New York, Chicago, LA, like a major city, you can't really get direct flights to all these places. So flying is just not flying again. The convenience goes down. Like
I was late to the studio, tonight to do the
if you're
show.
in Seattle and you want to go to, Germany. You're taking like 3 flights minimum to get there.
Yeah, but no, when I was here,
like Seattle to somewhere else.
direct flight to Frankfurt, whatevs.
Yeah.
No biggie. So the reason I was late to the studio is that I'm trying to book a flight because I actually have to be in Paris like the days before PAX East this year.
Well, if there was a Concorde, you wouldn't have any problem.
Oh my God.
You get there, you could go day of.
So I was looking for flights. So I'm going to fly out and do my thing, and then I'm going to fly, basically, I wanted to fly from JFK to Paris. Trivial, tons of flights. Want to fly from Paris to Boston so I can just go straight to PAX, like Thursday. Like, there's no reason to go. Yeah, it is cheaper and faster to fly to JFK and then take the fucking Acela to Boston. Boston does not have a lot of direct flights.
There's like one flight from Paris to Boston.
And the few that exist.
Because how many Parisians are like, let's go to Boston?
Yeah. And I remembered when I was
They
thinking
wouldn't
back,
say it that way. They would say, I
have a
let's just
coworker
go to
in Boston, and I'm in New York, so we were trying to both meet in Turkey. He had to take like this bullshit flight because there just weren't a lot of flights to Turkey, and most of them had transfers. And I can just fly everywhere direct because I'm in New York.
So flying is really convenient and awesome for important people who live in important places and go to important places, and really not convenient for you plebes in the sticks.
Yeah.
So shove it. We will experience the miracle of flight and appreciate it for you.
But then again, in the sticks, I have to say, when we lived in Beacon and we wanted to drive somewhere, we lived at the intersection of 2 of the biggest freeways in America.
They're pretty big.
If we wanted to drive, there was no drive to the freeway and then go that most people have. It was just like, let's go. Driving was so fast and so convenient so that now when we live in New York City, I can fly anywhere in the world. But if I go to like Hunter Mountain, which is not that far away, and I want
Much
to drive
closer than any place you're flying to.
and I want to drive home, I'll spend the last hour of that drive within like 20 miles of my apartment.
Well, I mean, New York City is also much closer to all these major highways and whatnot, right? It's just we don't have a car.
No, it's closer in terms of distance, not in terms of time.
Yeah, if we had a car,
Scott,
though, the
if
convenience
this was
would
not
be
New
there.
York City, it would take 10 minutes to drive to JFK.
Yeah.
It's only because it's New York that it takes a goddamn hour.
I mean, I can bike to JFK. I have.
Yeah, it's faster to bike than to drive on certain days.
Anyway.
Flying's pretty awesome.
Let's just talk a little bit about the actual terminals themselves, right? So a lot of airplane terminals, they're all really kind of different, but all sort of the same as well. It's kind of a strange...
Well, there's two tiers. There's the modern one with good food and the old school one.
Right, but even the food is... You ever know... I always get confused by the ones that have, like, the sit-down restaurants. And it's like, okay, you got, like, even the new fancy JetBlue terminal. Awesome terminal, right? Super modern.
I can tell you exactly why those exist.
They have the fancy restaurant. It's like, okay, maybe if I'm landing in JFK... and I'm going to take a different flight to leave, and there's a huge gap between the two flights, I might use the sit-down restaurant. Why else would I ever use that sit-down restaurant?
So here's what I
other
do.
circumstance?
I get to the airport early because it's always an international flight for me. So I get there, 2.5 hours early.
That's way too early.
The reason for that is because I almost missed my flight home from Brazil once because sudden traffic jam. What do you do?
I'm not driving to the airport. I'm taking the subway.
Yeah, there
And the
aren't
air
subways to most airports in the world.
Oh, but I'm talking about, all right, but there's this one here in New
So
York.
you're saying New York. So in these other countries, I need to leave a lot of time because a lot of things can fuck me on my way to the airport.
And
so,
if something doesn't fuck you, you sit down at that restaurant and eat dinner.
yeah, I'm a business traveler. Company dime.
Company time.
Also, it's pleasant to not be sitting in the normal lounge, to be sitting somewhere.
All right, so what if you're sitting there and you're eating dinner and it's like, oh shit, the food still hasn't come out. Oh shit, my
Scott,
flight.
those restaurants are designed around people who are in a hurry. They bring you the check fucking immediately. As soon as they see that you're done, they bring you the check. If you tell them your flight, they'll remind you, hey, you should go. If you order something that won't be ready quickly and your flight's coming soon, they warn you.
All right, well, what about in the airline terminals, right? All the fancy stores that, I understand.
I don't get that at all. You're
I
fucking
understand-
stupid if you shop at those places.
I understand the store that's selling the snacks and the magazines, the stuff that's like a
I
highway
suspect
rest
that the
stop.
only reason those jewelry stores are there is so guilty, cheating businessmen can buy gifts for their wife on the way home.
I understand even the store that sells clothes because, hey, maybe you didn't pack. You're like, oh shit, I ruined my shirt or something happened to a clothing and I really need one or, something like that. There's a case for I need to buy a clothing in an airport, right? The jewelry, I guess you came up with the only possible reason for that.
Yep.
But the stores that sell overpriced everything else, especially like duty free, it's like, okay, theoretically you don't pay tax on this.
But no, what's a scam?
It's overpriced to begin with.
I've checked the prices many times. Everything you ever see in duty free, I can get cheaper on Amazon or at a local liquor
Now, some
store.
of those items they sell in duty free, regardless of the price. We're assuming you're going to overpay for this, right? Makes sense. Like, oh, I saw in the duty free they were selling fancy cameras. It's like you're a tourist, you might not have a fancy camera, and you might decide,
Yep. A lot of people seem to get tricked and buy a lot of alcohol.
Luggage makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, alcohol, I guess, might make sense if you're an alcoholic, but it's like they're selling TVs in there, and it's like, okay.
So part of that, Scott, is that we live in the U.S. where it's not a big deal. Most other countries, especially in Europe, have huge taxes on importing things and duties and things, and their prices are also messed up. So I think it actually works out for a lot of those people.
Really? Like they see a TV and they're like, I need that.
Yeah, if you can,
that's a really good price
if you
on that
can
TV.
structure buying that TV to where you end up not paying taxes on it, that might actually make up the difference.
You mean you'd save more money though, just buying one at like Best Buy in the U.S. and then finding a way to get it. Well, you just flew somewhere. Where did you fly?
Yeah, so Scott, if you buy it in the U.S. and try to export it through customs, it's harder than if you get it through the duty-free stuff.
But like the duty-free also has that tax person at the end who doesn't actually do anything.
What's funny is I end up going to these places in the airports and the international terminals to buy like a bottle of water, and then they're like, "Can we scan your boarding pass?" And then I don't pay taxes on that water. So I have shopped at those places. I've bought bottles of water, and occasionally I've bought bags of Kit Kats.
Yeah, I buy candy too.
Mostly Kit Kats.
In Israel, I bought the bazooka gum that says bazooka in Hebrew on it. A whole sack of it.
Yup.
But yeah, it's like they got stuff in there that makes no sense.
Also,
hotels have jewelry stores in them too. I never understood that. Who shops at the hotel jewelry store, and how sad is the person who has to work in the hotel jewelry store? That's their job.
If you're working boring retail, I think the best possible case is boring retail where there's never a customer.
So
at
you
least
just
don't
spend
have to
all your time reading?
Yeah, you just sit there with your fucking smartphone the whole time and don't do anything. That would be a fine job. compared to actually serving real customers in the same situation.
Yeah, I don't know.
Of course, your commute now involves going to the airport every day. That alone might be worth killing yourself.
Hotel jewelry store.
That would be, yeah. But imagine working at the airport. It's like the people who work at the rest stops on the freeway. Like, it's so weird and fake.
There could be jobs you can get at the airport that are cool. Orange stick guy.
Yeah.
Pilot. Best job.
No, pilot's the worst job. They get paid shit.
I thought they had an awesome union. They get paid a ton,
they get
which is
paid
why they have to
shit.
keep fighting all the time.
Scott, the wages for pilots who aren't doing like, basically the pilots who aren't
I thought
doing
they're
these-
making like 6 figures plus.
No, pilots are fucked. In fact, the wages for most pilots in the U.S. is approaching minimum wage.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought their union made them have tons of money.
Nope.
That's a shame.
Being a pilot really sucks.
Well, they get to experience the miracle of flight all the time.
Well, flying is pretty awesome.
Maybe that's why they make their planes disappear.
I think we're done.
Didn't get paid enough.
I mean, what else? I get really thirsty on planes. I drink a lot of water.
Yeah.
Everyone else gets up to pee a million times. I don't.
I'm not afraid of the plane, anything bad happening to the plane. Everyone else is.
Nope. Granted, it's interesting we live in a world where a 777 disappeared.
It's
But,
fascinating, but I'm
yeah.
not afraid of it.
Not afraid of it either, but it's interesting that happened. Flying.
I'm hungry.
Let's go to Anime Boston. This has been Geek Nights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geek Nights is not one, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.